Hello everyone and welcome to a truly marvelous game from the 1986 Lugano Open tournament between Indonesian player Utut Adianto. He was a grandmaster, although I don't know if he was a grandmaster at the time this game was played. He did achieve his norm and his title in 1986, so we could say he was a grandmaster in 1986, and he faces Dutch player Gert Pieterse, who was an international master. Although, like I said, I don't know if he was an international master at the time this game was played. I even think he got his his international master title 2 years after this game was played. But that is besides the point. This game is absolutely spectacular, and you guys will love it. Obviously, we are honoring Mr. Hoodie Guy by wearing a hoodie. Hopefully, you guys are doing that as well. And let's check it out. It's quite a game. Thank you once again, Brandy, for recommending it. Really an awesome one. You guys will enjoy it. So Utut Adianto with white opens with pawn to with knight to f3. It was the reti. We have pawn to d5, pawn to d4, and pawn to c6. And now c4 is most common here, to just transposing into the Slav, or maybe instead of c4 you could also go pawn to e3. But here g3. This is today in this position the fourth most popular continuation, but obviously still thousands and thousands of games in the database. We have bishop to f5 and bishop to g2. We have knight to f6 and now castle's king side. Pawn to h6. c4, we have pawn to e6 and knight to c3. Knight b to d7, pawn to b3 and bishop to e7. So all been played before, nothing new here, and you guys are probably not weirded out by any of the moves so far. We have bishop to b2 and now knight to e4, challenging the knight on c3. So knight to d2, forcing the knight to move away from e4 as capturing is about to occur. Knight captures, we have queen captures, and d captures on c4. B captures, and now as many have said already about this game, knight to e5 starts a slugfest that lasts for some 20-25 moves, and you have no idea who will come out on top. So knight to e5, okay, obviously the knight cannot be captured, the queen on d2 would be hanging, so pawn to e4 attacking the bishop, and bishop to h7. Bishop to g4 is actually the correct response here, but I mean, it's such a wild game that we're not going to even cover every little detail. We have queen to e2, now defending on e4, and also, more importantly, defending on c4, and now queen captures on d4. But look at this, knight to d5. Now the queen is attacked, we have queen captures on c4, and knight to c7 check. King to d7, but now not knight captures on a8, as your queen on e2 is hanging, rook f to d1 check. And now the problem is you cannot capture the knight. If you capture the knight, then bishop captures knight with check, removing the defender of the queen on c4. So king to c8, and now queen to h5. Queen to e3 is even more precise, but like I said, this is one game where we're not gonna cover every little detail. Bishop to f6, now defending the knight on e5 as it's attacked by the queen and by the bishop. And now, well, you could go for something like bishop captures on e5, and this is perfectly fine for white, could be even close to winning. The game would not be nearly as interesting. Knight captures on a8, grabbing the rook and inviting bishop to g6. Now this will trap the white queen. We have reached the position from the thumbnail, but of course you guys know what is coming next, and that is queen captures on e5. Again, queen to h3 objectively is best for white, and the engine even recommends it, but then we will probably not be showing this game. You already grabbed one rook, you don't need a queen. You're gonna grab a knight and the bishop as well. So queen captures on e5, bishop captures, and now pawn to f6, bishop to d6. And now how can black continue this? You have to be very, very careful. Let's say you capture the pawn here. Bishop captures on e4. All of a sudden, rook comes into the game, attacks the queen. Let's say queen a4, bishop to h3. And this is not easy to defend. You have to play bishop to f5, allow the ruining of your pawn structure. And okay, the game continues. The knight comes back into the game. Maybe black can hold this, but white is definitely much better, having a rook, bishop, and knight for a queen. So after bishop to d6, rook to d8 was played. This is by far the best move. Bishop to c7, all of a sudden threatening mate in 1. So okay, rook captures Nd1, rook to d7 was the way to go, but rook captures Nd1, rook captures Nd1, threatening checkmate, and now pawn to b5, freeing up the b7 square for the black king. Rook to d8 with check, king to b7, and rook to b8 with check, king to a6, and now comes bishop to f1, attacking the black queen. And the question is, what do you play here? It's really not easy to make a decision here, because the real threat for white is pawn to a4. And some have said after the game was played that simply queen captures on a2, and why are you even worried about anything? You just capture the pawn, there's no a4, there's no nothing. Well, it's hard to say whether Gert saw this during the game, or maybe he just decided that it was best avoiding it altogether. But queen captures on a2 would be a terrible, terrible blunder. But it's not easy to see why. Do you see why? Feel free to pause the video and try to find a way out of this while I give you a couple of seconds. It's one of the nicer positions in the game. So, for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on realizing that the black king is getting checkmated as long as we move the bishop from c7. But not just anywhere, you have to move it to b6. That's the move. So knight to c7 checkmate is coming, and the only way to avoid it is a captures on b6. And after you do this, then comes knight to c7 with check. The king has only one good square. Well, a7 and a5 are both losing, so it doesn't really matter. King a7, rook a8 check. King to b7, you pick up the queen, and after king captures, you have a full rook. Okay, black is up 3 pawns, but a full rook is worth more than 3 pawns, and this is how you would win this. So probably Gert thought about queen captures on a2 and decided, okay, that's obviously losing due to this beautiful maneuver, but what he should play is queen captures on e4. That's the key maneuver, and this will allow him to get the bishop into the attack quicker, while also safeguarding the a4 square, which is the main problem for black, as the a4 will be a huge problem. So queen to c1 was played, the idea being obviously bishop captures on e4, followed by bishop to d3, and a checkmate on f1, but white is faster here. Pawn to a4, and okay, bishop captures on e4, a captures on b5 with check, c captures on b5. And okay, obviously we can easily checkmate the black king by playing bishop captures on b5, but the bishop is pinned, so obviously there's that. Feel free to pause the video and try to find the only move that wins the game for Utut Adianto while I give you a couple of seconds. For those of you who were able to do it, congratulations, as again, not an easy one to spot. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is bishop to f4. It is not only enough to free up the c7 square for the knight, but also to make it happen with tempo, as if black plays bishop to d3, then you are not coming back. For example, if rook captures on b5, seems like you're threatening all sorts of nasty discoveries now due to the bishop on f1, but bishop to d3 and you can just resign. There's no defense against queen captures on f1. So that's why bishop to f4 is key. It comes as with an attack on the black queen, queen to e1, and now rook captures on b5. And no, it's not the same. If you play bishop to d3 now, it looks like it's winning for black. Knight to c7 is checkmate. That's the problem. So after rook captures on b5, queen captures on f1. There's no other option than to give up the queen and try to play, well, a miserable endgame. King captures on f1, king captures on b5, and now knight to c7 check. King to c4, and knight captures on e6. So there you have it. Black has the outside pass pawn, but white has an extra knight. We have pawn to g5, going after the bishop, bishop to d2, and bishop to f3. Of course, white is completely winning, but you still have to be very, very careful. Black does have chances here. We have knight to g7, king to d3 attacks the bishop, bishop to a5, blocking the pass pawn, king to e4, and now knight to e8, going after the f6 pawn, pawn to f5, and bishop to c3. We have pawn to f4, knight to d6 check, king to d3, and now bishop to g7, going after the h6 pawn, pawn to h5, and now knight to f7. We have f captures on g3, f captures on g3, and he was in this position on move 43 that Gert Pieterse Pieterse resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. It seems like, okay, this is a very strong pass pawn. Maybe you could push it, and yeah, I mean, it is dangerous in some of the lines, but as you guys always love it when I finish the game, I will show you why. The problem is if you stop the knight captures on g5, you have to play g4. Then knight e5 check, the king moves, and you just capture the bishop. Knight captures, g captures, and again, it looks like it could go either way, but not really. King f2, and once you start advancing your pawn, just pawn to h3, pawn to a4, you will play h4. To give you an example, g4 is no longer winning for white, so you have to be careful. h3, a3, bishop to h8, now you have to lose some tempi in order for the pawn to get all the way to a2, bishop to g7, and now after king f5, just king captures on f3, and there is nothing more you can do here. King g6, you're gonna play this, and after king f5, you just waste a few moves to get your king into the game. King g6, king to f4, king h6, or anywhere, king to f5, and now you just go after the pawn. King h6, king to f6, and now you win the pawn, and easily the two connected pass pawns will be winning. But yeah, just thought you guys might be, but isn't the pass pawn too strong? No, it isn't. The piece is, of course, much stronger. But yeah, I mean, it all started with black trying to be very creative here with this knight to e5 move, but all of a sudden it was white who started the attack, and it could have gone either way. Utut Adianto was just the better player this game. And it was I think it was like a 140 player tournament, and Utut Adianto did very well. Although I can't really figure out the standings. Like here, he's I think it was sort of a knockout system before, or maybe a knockout system before the actual knockout system, because some of the players in the tournament have finished with 1 out of 1, some with 1.5 out of 2, some with 2 out of 3. So not everyone played the exact amount of games. And then you have the 3 winners, Victor Korchnoi, Nigel Short, and Lev Gutman, finished on 7.5 out of 9, the only 3 players who actually played 9 games in this tournament. So I imagine, you had to win in order to proceed further and then enter like the final 3 or something. But as you can see, he's I mean, did very well. Actually won 3 points, and is it 3 points? I know I saw him. No, yeah, he played 3 games but won 2 points, but still ahead of let's say players like Borislav Ivkov, who was eliminated after playing 1 game. But no, not eliminated. He actually won 1 game, so that's weird. Yeah, it's a weird tournament, but obviously Utut did well, and he did really, really well in this game. That is the point. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Really a wild one. Thank you once again, Brandy, for recommending such a beautiful game. I would like to thank Vicky Hackney, Meta the Super Chess Dog, Darren Little, Jerry Driver, and the Animated Chemist for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.